Right. Well, good morning, Queensland, and it's wonderful to join the Tourism Minister, the Assistant Minister, and of course Joan. It's in her local patch. And of course we're here with the Port of Brisbane CEO Neil and Carnival Australia President Marguerite. Well, today you are looking at the brand new cruise ship terminal that's ready to go, and cruise ships are coming back to Queensland in June. This is fantastic news for the industry. It's something that the eastern states have been working on and discussing at National Cabinet, and I'm very pleased that now we have the health protocols that have actually been agreed on. It means the ship is ready to sail and Queenslanders are ready to get on board. This is something that I know many Queenslanders have been looking forward to since we've been going through the pandemic over the last 2 years. So Queensland cruising is worth about $1 billion and 3,500 jobs. And of course, when the cruise ships go into different ports, they're actually bringing a lot of economic activity. So because we've had this strong health response, this is part of our economic recovery plan, and cruise ships are now back. There's a lot of companies out there already putting in place their options, so have a look and grab a great deal, because you'll also want to come and check out this brand new cruise ship terminal here as well. In relation to the protocols, the health protocols that will be put in place, passengers and crew need to be fully vaccinated. There will be a lot of communication between cruise lines and passengers about the health protocols. There will be COVID testing, mask wearing before and after embarking. So these are added additional measures to make sure that people are feeling safe when they go onto a cruise ship and when they disembark. And today, this Brisbane International Cruise Terminal, I'm very pleased. I had a sneak peek here last year, but this is a $177 million project. It's one that the Queensland Government helped facilitate. I remember it was way back then it was a market-led proposal. It's now fully built, and I'm quite sure that Queenslanders are going to love coming out here and taking a look. It's also capable of docking those really large cruise vessels, the ones that are longer than 270 metres, because of where it's positioned in relation to the mouth of the Brisbane River and the access to Moreton Bay. So within 20 years, the terminal will potentially triple Brisbane's cruise industry. It'll eventually support 3,750 jobs. It will be able to attract more than 760,000 visitors per year, and will be contributing billions of dollars into the Queensland economy. So I'll hand over to the Tourism Minister to talk a little bit more about this, and then you'll hear from the other speakers. Thanks, Sterling.
Thank you, Premier, and it is great to be able to confirm that cruising is back for Queensland. Before the pandemic, cruising had a $1 billion impact on the Queensland economy, and we saw some 35,000 people employed off the back of the cruising industry here in the state. Equally, I'm very conscious of how important cruise has been and cruise is to our travel agents, and that's why it's great to have Jean here from Clean Cruising to represent all of those travel agents right throughout the state, large operations and small businesses for whom cruise is a very important part of their business model. So cruise being back is important not just for the broader tourism industry, but particularly for those travel agents who have done it particularly hard over the last couple of years. Very excited to see it back, very excited to see the 2nd of June confirmed as that start point from this brand new, as the Premier says, $177 million cruise terminal. The demonstration that we've got the right capability and facilities to lead cruising, to lead the restart of cruising, and to make home porting here out of Brisbane and providing access to those great experiences throughout the Queensland coast, a very important part of cruising in this part of the world. And I might hand over to Neil to say a few words.
Thank you, and it's terrific to see you all here today for what is a great day for all of us. The opening of the cruise centre and the recognition that cruising is about to restart in this part of the world. We have a world-class built-for-purpose asset here that we've tested enough, and now we need the real thing. Premier, can I thank you for coming out once again? I think this is your third visit at least. Minister Hinchcliffe, Joan, and other friends of the port around here. We also have special guest Marguerite Fitzgerald, who's flown up today, the president of Carnival and P&O Cruises, just to reinforce how important this asset opening is going to be. We believe Brisbane will become the epicenter of cruising in this part of the world, both for the eastern seaboard and beyond, and we're pretty excited about the economic benefits that brings to this region and beyond. So, thank you. Marguerite.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Premier, Minister. Well, after 2 years of uncertainty, I am very excited to be up here to welcome the restart of cruising in Queensland. I think for many, including Jean here, but many of the cruise industry over the last 2 years, there has been, a lot of uncertainty, but also a lot of hope. And a belief that this industry would be coming back, and it is. And as you've heard, on the 2nd of June, this terminal will be welcoming the first P&O ship to come back into Australian waters, the Pacific Explorer, on her first voyage. And after that, you will have 140 calls in Queensland over the rest of the year, all the way up and down the coast from Cairns up in the north, Airlie Beach, Townsville. Bringing, as was said, the economic activity. We estimate at least $165 million of economic activity this year. And as you say, this is, I think we said, is the only purpose-built cruise terminal in Australia. It is fantastic, and it's really the linchpin of the Queensland cruising industry. So on behalf of Carnival Australia, the major cruise line in Australia, we're very excited to be able to welcome cruise back. Jean?
Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Mr. Hinchcliffe. It's been a very long 2 years for the travel industry, and I stand here on behalf of hundreds of businesses and thousands of people who are directly related to the cruise industry in Queensland. To hear this news this week from the federal government, and then to stand here today in the beautiful port that we're in, and to know that we're finally going to be able to use the terminal and bring ships into Brisbane again, has been something that we've waited a long time for, and we're so relieved. So thank you for everyone who's helped to facilitate this. It means the world to us, and the most important thing for us now is to get back to employing more people and rebuilding all of our businesses and helping this industry really kick off for the next 5, 10, 20 years. So thank you so much again.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and Premier, welcome. It's great to have you back here again. I'd like to congratulate the Port of Brisbane for their great foresight and engagement. What a wonderful facility. And to Carnival, thank you very much for your great commitment. It's really wonderful to see it finally up and going, and I can't wait for the cruising to come back to Queensland. I know that there are many people that are excited about getting back on the boats and going out and visiting wonderful exotic places, so it's really exciting to hear the number of cruising options that will be available in the coming months. So congratulations, and I'm really excited. An international cruise ship terminal right beside an international airport. We are very fortunate here in Brisbane to have such a facility, so thank you for the commitment, everyone. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Can I just say, not only as the Assistant Minister for Tourism Industry Development, but also as the member for Cairns, this announcement is absolutely spectacular, and it's a wonderful impact on all Queenslanders that are obviously in those coastal ports. Queensland, as opposed to other states, we have more facilities, and this, when you look at this outstanding piece of infrastructure, it's a great reflection of the commitment that government has made. I liken what's happened to the tourism industry as a jigsaw puzzle, and COVID has totally smashed it, but we're pulling it back together again, and the cruising section is a vitally important sector, as we've heard, and we know that there are so many Australians, and particularly Queenslanders, that want to come out and enjoy it. It's terrific to see it's coming back. Things are certainly on the improve, and it's wonderful to be part of this terrific announcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions about the cruising?
An impressive building.
Yeah.
What do you think people's first impressions are going to be once they leave the terminal?
When they come here,
Yeah.
it's going to be wow. It's going to be
fantastic.
fantastic.
When they leave the terminal?
When they leave the terminal,
Yeah.
oh well, we might need to fix up a few of the roads along the way, but they're going to be coming into an Olympic city. So of course, there's going to be so much for people to see and do right across our southeast. And don't forget, this cruise ship terminal will bring cruises here which will go up and down the east coast and will bring economic activity to regional parts of our state as well. So it's a fantastic addition, and it's going to attract a lot of cruise ships here, especially those larger ones that haven't been able to come here in the past.
How do you bring confidence back to the cruise industry after it was kind of our first exposure to COVID 2 years ago?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. And of course, Dr. Gerard was one of the first people who actually went over and dealt with that cruise ship off Tokyo. I think everyone's heard his story. I think today we are going into the new normal, and people want to resume activities as part of their living with COVID, so to speak. So, you know, now we're out and about, we're not wearing masks. There's some additional health precautions, so people going on the cruise ships will know that everyone is vaccinated, not only themselves but the crew, and also to some precautions going on the ships and off the ships. Of course, the ships have medical staff on board as well, and if someone is seriously ill and they are on the east coast, you know, we will be able to transport them to a hospital. So, look, it's early days, but the cruise ships have restarted in other parts of the world, and some of them are going quite well. So, you know, we're starting off slowly and building up.
Premier, is there government funding Jackie Trans?
Oh, hang on. Is there any other questions for anyone else about cruise ships? Because we can let them go, and I'll just keep Sterling in case there's any other questions.
Do you expect some big celebrities to come on the cruise boat?
I hope so. Let's get them here.
Who?
Sorry? Who? Well, let's start with George Clooney and Julia Roberts. I think they've been on the Gold Coast recently. It would be lovely to see them. Look, that's up to the cruise ships. I'm quite sure they have entertainment. There's lots of things for people to do, and you know, it's a fantastic experience. Having been on one myself, at that stage I thought it was my first and last cruise, but obviously now they're back, and I know that my parents are going to be very excited to be able to go cruising again. Okay, we'll let everyone else go, and Sterling might just stay in case there's any questions. Yes?
So is the government funding Jackie Trans legal case?
What I can say is that there are legal indemnity guidelines that are available to former ministers. These are actions that are taken part of their former ministerial duties, and I can confirm that yes, she is.
How much money is taxpayers?
Well, we can't say that at the moment. That is part of the legal indemnity guidelines, but also to those costs aren't worked out until the end of the court case. So as you can appreciate, there is a court case that has been confirmed now by the court, and I cannot comment on that court case.
She took this action out of office, though. How is the state...
No, the legal indemnity guidelines apply for you in your capacity. So, for example, remember there was the floods inquiry all those years ago, and people had to come and appear, and also, the health payroll inquiry. So they are coming back, not as private citizens, they are coming back because they held those positions at that particular point in time. So I think everyone just needs to be very clear about that.
Is this case about trying to stop the report coming out as opposed to any questions about her actions?
Look, that's a matter for her. I can't comment on that. What I have to say is that there are legal indemnity guidelines that are available for all sides of politics. My understanding is that they operate in other states and they also operate at the federal level.
Have you read Mike Summerall's report now, and are you bothered by any of the content?
Yes, I have. I am actually quite busy as Premier, so I do have a lot of reports to read. I was actually reading a report about the Japanese encephalitis. I'm also working on letters to go to the Prime Minister about getting Category D funding. I also chaired a Cabinet Budget Review Committee yesterday. So yes, I did read the report. And you know, I've had a thorough read of it, and I'm quite sure that other people have read it as well. Now, what we do know that these matters have been canvassed at length, they have been examined at length, and there is no findings of any corrupt conduct. Having said that, let me also make it very clear that those practices were not good practices. Those practices now do not happen.
Which practices?
Sorry?
Which practices specifically?
Well, the communication, okay? So the communication and the use of private email. So since that time, there have been a lot of things that have happened. So first of all, I have written to all ministers. Secondly, the state archivist wrote to all ministers as well. So everybody is aware of their obligations now.
Premier Minister Bailey said yesterday that his dealings with the ECU were a normal part of the political process. Is it normal for unions to tell cabinet ministers how to vote?
There is no voting at cabinet.
But to tell them.
But there is no voting at cabinet. The premise of your question is factually incorrect. No one votes at cabinet. It's not like a parliament where you come in and take votes. Cabinet does not operate that way.
Did he push Mark Bailey for that option A that was discussed?
Well, I don't believe so, because I'll tell you how cabinet works. Ministers have their cabinet books, they read it, they think about it, and they come there and collectively we make decisions. Now, when there is legislation and other business that comes before cabinet, and legislation is a good example, consultation happens on that. And it is actually good practice to consult with a whole range of stakeholders about what their views are. That is not an uncommon practice. But let me say very clearly, there is no voting at cabinet. There never has been and there never will be. That is not how cabinet government operates.
Did Mark Bailey push for the union's position?
Well, no, because that's not how cabinet operates.
Isn't it disturbing, though, that they knew the contents of what was going to be
No,
discussed
because there is stakeholder consultation. That is a hallmark of good government, to have stakeholder consultation.
So,
The LNP had no consultation. Bills were put in the middle of the night, they were rushed through Parliament without any consultation. And look where it got them. You can actually have consultation with a whole range of stakeholders.
Often at press conferences, you say you can't answer questions because matters are before cabinet. So how then an electrical trade union official is knowing what is going on before cabinet?
Because there is consultation that happens. So just because something comes into cabinet doesn't mean there hasn't been consultation on it. There may be, for example, we might be going out to have a particular review on something. We would actually engage with stakeholders to have a look at, what the parameters of that review may be. This is normal practice of government.
You don't think the CCC needs to relook at this and you won't be...
They already have looked at it. You can have a look at, and if you go to the summary part, I think the last 8 pages are a CCC other matter, but if you go to the summary part of it in the first bit, it basically says here that they've actually been through all these things.
Like they went through all the contents of the emails?
Yes, the 87, the attachments, the emails that are attached.
The opposition argues in their press conference this morning, they say that the CCC was actually looking at a different practice there and they're calling this borderline bribery.
Well, I reject that.
The summary report also says that Bailey's deletion of public records was deemed an attack on accountability of government and its place in a free and democratic
And the
society.
practice has been fixed. The practice has been fixed.
The practice has been fixed now.
Yeah, and the minister has apologised probably, I think, 3 or 4 times now.
Mike Summerall called it quite concerning, the trade union's knowledge of cabinet matters. You don't think it is concerning?
As I said, ministers consult with a whole range of stakeholders.
How wide was the consultation on this particular work cover?
You'd have to ask him that. I've just read the emails. Okay.
Premier,
Thanks everyone. Last one.
Government for more blood assistance?
Yes, we are. Thank you. That's a really good question. So the things that are very important to people of Queensland is the recovery of the floods. And shortly we'll be hopefully meeting with some members of the US Navy that have been out there helping, and I want to thank them. But yes, we are looking at more assistance. We looked at a very comprehensive package the other day. We're working through those issues. So as you can appreciate, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of information that we need to go into detail. And we will be forwarding that to the Prime Minister over the weekend, which is a Category D funding. So it's a really important funding assistance that will actually help a lot of people.
What are people eligible for under Category D?
Well, we'll be releasing that on the weekend, and the Deputy Premier will be talking more to that.
Premier, the Ukrainian family says
Yes.
they weren't able to be fed or wash their clothes in the government's brand new quarantine facility. What's your response to that?
Well, I understand all those facilities are there, so I'll find out for you too.
Premier, Kimberly Kitching, I know you were a close friend of her. What do you mean?
No, I wasn't a close friend. I went to university with her and I attended a couple of classes. So, yes, I did know her, and it's very tragic and very sad, and I'm very sad that she has passed away.
Do you think the treatment the Ukrainian family received was appropriate given what they've been through?
Look, I'm happy to look at those details. I haven't heard the specifics, but I understand that they were out here on a normal visa. It wasn't a refugee visa, and they were unvaccinated, which is why we have a quarantine facility for unvaccinated people to go to. So, look, we expect very good standards at the facility, and I'm more than happy to look into that for you, Tim.
And this is just
And
happened
last
this
one.
morning. The federal government has put some sanctions on a Russian oligarch that has some as a shareholder in a Queensland refinery. Do you support them putting those sanctions?
That's a matter for them, yeah. And look, just back to your earlier question, Hayden, too, can I just say I want to pass on my deepest sympathies to the family of Kimberly. Very tragic to lose someone at such a young age, and she was a Senator for Victoria, and she'll be remembered very fondly. Okay?
We're going to head in time for a bit of